Well, it's time to give you a rundown on some of our Alaska news stories for this Monday morning. It's February 20th, 2017. A couple of home invasions to report on, one in the Wasilla area where apparently 5 men broke into a home and stole a gun, as well as a couple of other items. No major injuries reported in that, although I think there were some minor injuries with some of the bystanders. There was, however, a man shot in a home invasion in the Fairbanks area during a scuffle with the 4 invaders. In that particular instance, he was shot in the stomach, and a bystander was also injured. And troopers are requesting the public's help in solving that shooting. In a more lighthearted story, there's a review of a book called Beers of the North, Alaska Dispatch News. It's really an indispensable guide for people who are Alaska hopheads. I'm not sure if I would consider myself necessarily a hophead, but I certainly enjoy my Alaska beers. All right, we'll move on. The News Miner carries a story on how Mayor Jim Matherly is using social media to call people out. And basically, if he finds that they have said something that he doesn't agree with, he will get back with them and confront them. And if they say it on Facebook, even if they're not on the job at the time that they say it, he will take it up with their employer. You can read all about it at the News Miner. The Alaska Dispatch News carries a story about a little-known federal immigration court in Alaska. And if you're a fan of hockey, there's some potentially bad news on the horizon. The Alaska Aces is considering ceasing their operations. The Bogoslof volcano erupted again on Friday and again on Saturday, and there's a story in ADN noting that the island has tripled in size since the eruptions began back in December. There's a story about the protests at the Alaska Board of Game meeting in Fairbanks last Friday. Apparently, there's some people who think that the way in which the state has been managing the game for harvest is not taking into account those who just want to look at the animals. Meanwhile, the U.S. House has passed Representative Don Young's bill that would repeal the Alaska-specific wildlife management regulation that would require, currently the regulation requires the feds, basically says the Alaska cannot cull predators like wolves in certain manners, and this is going to reverse that if it is passed. Speaking of passing, there's a special ferry flushing bill that has won support from the Senate that would give an exemption to smaller ferries to allow them to put their wastewater right into the ocean without the same level of processing. Also, there is up to, 18 federal officials now investigating the cause of that fatal Anchorage apartment fire that happened last week. And we had our first public hearing of the bill that would introduce a state income tax and cap our dividends. That took place during the House Committee on Friday, and there are more hearings coming up both today and next Friday as well. And lastly, the Delta Farm Forum is coming up this coming Saturday, the 25th, down there in Delta Junction. So if you're interested in that, you're invited to be a part of it as well. You like what I'm doing here? Please consider supporting me, either becoming a sponsor directly at buying a subscription to RadioFreeSpeech.com or by becoming a patron at Patreon. And if you've got a news tip for me, once again, that email address is steve@RadioFreeSpeech.com.